go. Oh, 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 black rose on this red road. Here we go. Oh, 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 walking and wandering, but I'm led astray. Search within, trying to find the right way. Spirits roll to the left, to the right. Demons fight. I walk this path as a warrior. I'm a black rose on this red road. Here we go. Oh, 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 black rose on this red road. Here we go. Come on, yeah. Oh, 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 boldly, fearlessly traveling, we won't leave. Strong ones, we're long gone, marching on through the hells and storms, though we're ripped and torn. We're going home where we belong. Finally, the eye can see those order steps, the path ahead. Hold on, oh, black rose on this red road. Here we go. Here we go. Nobody knows. Hey, black rose on this red road. Here we go. Here we go. Only heaven knows. Only black rose. Oh, my brother on this red road. Oh, my sister. Here we go. Come on. Nobody knows. Come on. Black rose. Come on, yeah. On this red road. Walk with me. Here we go. Walk with me. Only heaven knows. Mother, do you hear? Father, do you hear me? When I cry, I'm a wounded warrior. When I cry, oh, 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 I cry. Black rose on this red road. Where we go? Go. Greetings, peace, everyone. Welcome to our Young Shishi study session, or a Friday study session, or a 6-day study session, whatever term you want to use. I want to welcome you all. I am Chief Yuya, and this is a study session, or a bill session that we prefer to call it, for the Anu Life Global Ministries, where we get together every 7 days and just chop it up, and exchange ideas with each other back and forth. So I want to welcome those of you. I saw some of you in the chat. I greeted some of you in the chat. I'm pulling my chat back up. Thank you for the number 1 to let me know that I am being heard. So I appreciate that. I have the chat on the side. Also, if you would like to join in on the fun, unlike our Sabbath sessions that we typically do, where there's a message and an insight that's shared, on these study sessions, you can actually join in and drop as I say, drop a brick in the room or something that everyone can build on. Or if you have a question or just, want to just add on to the vibe of the space. So you'll see in the chat right now that there is a link. And from that link, you can click on it and then come on in. All right. So, yeah, I trust that everyone strong was strong. Your past 7 days since the last time we spoke was fruitful for you and was productive. And of course, we've been doing the Divine Family series on YouTube as well. We started digging into polygyny a bit, as of late, polygyny or polygamy. And but prior to that, we were, just covering some other things. I urge you to check that out. And of course, we'll be doing that again tomorrow at 12 noon. We'll be digging into that again. There was a term that I used recently. I was speaking to someone and they were asking some questions regarding just some of the challenges sometimes that people face in intimate relationships. And like sometimes the things that you may not spot, like as we call them, the red flags or the yellow flags. And sometimes we only want to see green flags, so we only see green flags. But the truth is that a lot of the issues that sometimes come forth is because of our inability to put words to certain behaviors. So like sometimes someone can do something and you're like, I don't think that's right. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't seem right. But I don't really have the wording to put to it. Or this idea that, like everyone's the same, everyone's on equal footing. And I know that we live in a time now where like comments and commentary around like high value men or high value women are being thrown around a lot. But we don't really speak as often about low value individuals, and just from what I was sharing with the person the other day, I was like, yeah, a lot of times some of the problems that people come in, like suffer from in their relationships is because they've made it themselves to a low value person. But if you didn't know like what that is or how to really spot a low value person or know I'm in a relationship with a low value person, then you may not be aware of some of the consequences. So that's something I was building on I guess past couple of days because I was talking to someone, like I said, um, I was helping them out with something, and then it started to really, kind of resonate in my spirit a bit. Like, yeah, a lot of people don't know how to identify low quality people, and doing the work that I do in Anu and dealing with so many different types of people, that's something that I think about a lot. Because sometimes you'll have incidents where people are in Anu and then they're not in Anu, they're not in the ministry, and looking from the outside in, you don't know what's going on, right? So you may see someone who's been around and then they're not around, and of course, because people's minds can be really perverted and warped sometimes. So the assumption is never that the person did something wrong or something's wrong with the person. The assumption is always that the when you see dark-faced people building something of quality with morality and with structure and out of love, there's a chip in you that says that they're doing something wrong. And if it's led by a man who's a masculine man, he's doing something wrong. So when you see someone present and they're not present, you would never think like maybe that person's a messed up person, or maybe they came in really messed up and they were unwilling to receive the medicine. Like people don't really usually think in terms of that, unfortunately, because we're sort of programmed to want to see the institutions of Nubian people and Afro-Shemitic people. We're programmed to want to see them fail, to want to see them collapse, or to come in and automatically have criticisms, whether they're they have validity or they're baseless. So I was thinking about like, man, I do, which I think is maybe one of my weaknesses. I do allow people who would be considered low quality into the walls of Anu. And that has been something I've done in the past and regret it, but I've often had this mind of like, well, if they're exposed to certain things, or if they're shown a certain amount of love or a certain amount of encouragement or even a certain amount of correction or discipline, then they'll be able to overcome, that low quality energy, or that lack of spiritual or moral or ethical ambition that's present. And it usually doesn't work out. It usually doesn't work out, but you still try. But one of the things I was to think about on that, because there's commonalities with people who show up in that way. And like, one of the things that you'll always find is that they lack empathy. That's like one of the first ways to make a determination that you're dealing with someone who is of low quality. They have no empathy. And you know or maybe even one of the first ways prior to that is they tend to lack manners. They never say please, they never say thank you. And even if they do say please and thank you, it's typically done in a way where it's like abbreviated. you know, like, instead of saying, "Hey, thank you so much, I appreciate what you did for me," they might say like, "Appreciate you," something like that. Instead of saying thank you, it'd be like, "All right." They're in New York, they would say, in New York we use "I" for, like, it could mean like 20 different things, but or "you good?" You good could mean like 10 different. It mean you want to fight, or it could mean are you okay? So "you good" it's multi-layered, but you'll find, yeah, a lack of manners, because what manners does, when a person is polite, is it establishes a civic society. So people who are empathetic, they have a desire to want to see civility throughout the community, to want to see some level of cohesion, and they're empathetic to that need. So a person who lacks manners, they have no empathy. They don't care if it's chaos outside. They might prefer chaos, in fact, you know, um, but they don't care if people are treating each other well, if the society stands, if it collapses, if the community's strong enough. They don't care. So they're never going to say like please or thank you. They're not interested in establishing civility because they lack empathy. So that's like some things you can look at and you'll know right away, I'm dealing with someone who's low quality. Another common thing I found is dishonesty. Low quality people lie at the drop of a hat. They're dishonest, and you can catch them, and it won't be a life changing thing. Like, you could catch them being dishonest, and they might just still just keep trying to wiggle and squirm their way out of it without being honest. And then they'll come back tomorrow and do the same thing over again. There's no sense of honesty in them. It's not the same as like what they call little white lies, which is such a ridiculous term, but they're habitual liars. That's, you have someone who you're always having questions about or having conversations about their honesty or their truthfulness with them. That's a low quality person that you're dealing with. And I know saying something like someone is low quality, it may seem very harsh, especially if you're speaking about a loved one, friend or family member, but yeah, it is what it is. So that's that. You'll find also like a commonality. And these are people, I'm telling you, people who have come into Anu. Like, I see these signs like early on. I already know, like, here we go. I know I'm dealing with a low quality person. You'll find that they're very unreliable. And, like, I know some people who are unreliable because they have poor time management. They get overwhelmed very easily. They really want to be reliable, but it doesn't work out. But a person who's like low quality, they're unreliable because they don't care. They say they're gonna be somewhere at a certain time. They won't be there. That time will come, they'll just be watching a show or playing with their phone or something like that. They really just they don't care. And that's one of the stark differences you got to pay attention to with a low quality person. Another thing that's very common, and I think a lot of people, even in my own ministry, can relate to having to deal with this among like people who come in, is that they always blame other people. A low quality person never takes accountability for anything they do. Everything is always someone else's fault every time without fail, and it's sort of like a characteristic of a low quality person that they are never going to accept responsibility for their own actions, you know, and you really can't do much with that. Once you have you're trying to engage or conjoin or even mate with someone like that who never will take responsibility for their actions, man, it's not really too many directions you can go with that one. It's because there's no growth. That's one of the things with a low quality person. They have no desires to grow. They refuse to grow. In fact, let me put it that way. They refuse to grow. No matter what information you put in front of them, no matter how much love you show them, no matter how much rebuking you do, it does not matter. They refuse to grow. And sometimes you'll be faced. A low quality person tends to always face people with hostility, whether it be their words or whether they want to get physical. But, anytime you confront them on anything, there's going to be some level of hostility. And you kind of even know it in the back of your mind, like, man, I kind of don't want to say this to this person. I don't want to have this conversation because I don't feel like the attitude. I don't feel like the hostility. I don't feel like what I know is going to come next because this person is, always on go, you know. So that's something that you'll always notice. And part of that is also because of their constant negativity. A low quality person is always negative, man. And sometimes that's a tough one because people can be negative consistently a lot of times because of things that they've gone through in life, or like some sort of emotional trauma that they experienced as children. But I would say like negativity is really usually rooted in fear. When you see someone who's a negative person, it's usually you're dealing with someone who's a fearful person, and they may have a fear of being disrespected by people. They may have a fear of not being loved by people, or they have the fear that bad things are going to happen. Those are usually those are usually the roots of negativity. Those three things: something bad's going to happen, someone's going to disrespect me, someone's not going to love me. you know and then that sort of those three things, like it's like a three-headed dragon. They become the sort of the vanguard for this negativity. And I know a lot of times we may feel bad for people, like, well, they went through these different things and it's made them a negative person. But a person who's a low quality person, they mean no good for other people. And sometimes they will use your empathy against you. They'll weaponize it. They know you feel bad for them. Sometimes they'll lead with their problems. So you'll kind of always be at their mercy, because another sign of a low quality person is they manipulate people. Once you find a person who's manipulative, automatic low quality person, low quality person. Um, part of that manipulation is a lack of empathy, a lack of concern for others, a lack for the well-being of others, but also sometimes it's a lack of ambition, a lack of personal ambition. So I won't strive to be and do the best things that I can do in order to be a better person for everyone around me. I'll just manipulate and use you and mangle you towards my own ends, and whether it be my own pleasure or whatever. Like a lot of times you'll find, like, one of the signs is sometimes we have friends, right, where they only call us or reach out to us, well, to use us. Like, they want to tell us about their day all the time. Oh, let me tell you, I got to call you later because let me tell you about A, B, and C when that happened. But when you're going through a rough patch in life, you can't get a call back, or you get some very empty sort of text, like a sad face emoji or something like that. When you're going through something, like, they're never there for you when you need them, but they are always looking to extract your presence and extract from your energy. And like I said, it may not necessarily be where it's like, yo, let me get some money. But, it may be like whatever use you provide. It could be physical. It could be a sexual thing. It could just be like, I want somebody to pay me attention. I want somebody to listen to this story. I want to talk about myself. And I just need a warm body to sit there while I talk about, whatever it is. But, those will be some obvious things. Like I said, in that sometimes is rooted in the refusal to grow. A lot of times low quality people will not take opportunities that are presented to them for emotional growth. You know, they won't take opportunities for emotional growth. They lack care for others. And anytime those opportunities arise, they just won't do it. They won't do it. You'll find that a sort of judgmental spirit is also present. They use judgmentalism as a deflection away from themselves. So usually they're a gossiper. You meet a person who's a gossiper, low quality. Judgmental, low quality, where they feel that they have the room and space to say negative things about others. And sometimes it could be in an effort to stir up drama. As another sign of a low quality person, they will cause drama where there is none. We've all had that friend when we were younger in school who, it's a cool day at school. It's Tuesday. Nothing happens on a Tuesday. It's not like it's Friday. And they just like, yo, I'm bored. And they look around and just start causing problems. So Tuesday can be lit like a Friday. That's a sign of a low quality person. Peace, Aki Zach. What's going on, brother?
Peace to the chief.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, man. I tell you what. Talk about divine timing. This is exactly what I was thinking about the other day.
Really?
Because I was talking to somebody and they were saying how there's no communities that they can be a part of because there's nobody that they can trust. So there's nobody that they can talk to.
Right.
And I started thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, there is some people who definitely, if you join a community, that the first thing that they'll start to do, and sometimes I think that's coming from a church mindset of if I join the church and the church is going to tell this person and this person is going to tell this person.
Right.
And then I also started thinking about how though some people get into groups and then they only got into the group to trauma bond, whereas, oh, you don't like him? Oh yeah, I don't like him. And yeah, let me tell you about this story. And it's not necessarily rooted or based around any truth. It's only becomes, you share your truth, I'm gonna share my truth. And as long as those two truths match up with the trauma that we both experience, then we'll all be in this together and we'll all be in a group.
Yeah.
As soon as that thing starts to turn into, well, let me tell you a little bit about what you have done. Let me tell you a little bit about where you can grow.
The band gonna break up.
Yeah. And then it becomes, I can't be who I was called to be in this space, or, it's no longer resonating with me in this space, or now I think it's time that I'm being called somewhere else.
Right.
I appreciate everything that you've done for me. And I'm like, at what point does somebody finally sit down and, you know what, in order for me to be in a group, there's some adjustments that I might have to make. There's some sacrifices I might have to make in order to now make sure that the group is thriving and seeing what this group needs that I should now become. But instead of me looking to see what I can give to the group, I'm going to see how this group now has offended me. I'm going to see, you saying that the skills that I'm bringing are not good enough? Are you saying what I wanted to do from the beginning I can't do? So now all of a sudden I'm going to go and do a reading on it.
Man, don't talk about him. I know who you talk about. The whole time you talking, I'm like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. You close. You like right on that edge. Know who you talk about.
But the thing is, though, it's not just him.
No, it's not.
Him. him.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it across the board, and it's like, are you really searching for a community where you can join and then you can make adjustments and grow and thrive? Or because that same community is looking for you. But if you're not, and if you're not willing to make some personal adjustments and personal set, it's never going to work. Like, never going to work. And I'm like, and like when you started talking, it just made me like, it's okay. Yeah, everybody speaks about these high value. Are you making this kind of money? Do you make this? You know, somebody asked me that. I asked her. I said, "What's the 3 essential requirements?"
I knew it was a female. I knew whoever somebody asked me. I already knew what this was. Another satisfied customer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, as long as the person makes more money than me. Well, how much money do you make? Well, now all of a sudden but I'm saying it's all about
You're
that.
my business.
But as opposed to looking at somebody and saying, you know what, you might be a low quality person though. You can still have money and be a low quality person.
Oh yeah.
But I think I'm gonna stop right there because I feel like I'm going on and on. But I mean, this one just hit me.
Yeah, I mean it's in alignment with sort of like questions you've asked throughout the years, because that's the hard part of the work. It's like, because you could look at, like you said, it's not just him, it's multiple people, right? But look at some of the things that I listed, and you'll find that all those people you're referring to displayed those traits from day one. That's the same person who was sitting and talking about, well, maybe y'all all just speak good. I don't know. I'm just here listening. I don't know. But y'all, came in judging, right? And then lying. Really, there was dishonesty present there, and thought it was cool to lie. Like, you got me. So you showed from the beginning that you're low quality. I saw it. I don't say anything because it's like, well, you still came here for a reason. So I'm going to do my job, but I won't be surprised if you don't do your job, So the thing is, it's like, even in those instances, you pretty much know what it is from day one when you have the language for it. And you can hope that it doesn't play out that way, but it pretty much always does. Low quality people usually don't turn around and become high quality or high value people. Peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm intrigued by the build as well. But I just think about people who have, like, ulterior motives. It's like you kind of know that they're up to something. Well, you know that they're up to something, but they don't come right out and say it, but you kind of wonder, like, well, why are you in Anu, or why are you in the space? And like, you just kind of sit back and don't say anything. You're like, the person is judging, but it's like, yeah, I know for me, like, that's very uncomfortable.
Know what you talking about too. I know what you talking about. Drinking that water, playing with that pen. I know what you talking about.
So it's like, what was your true motivation for coming into the space? Like, you don't know, but then you kind of notice when they do start talking, and you start building with them. It's kind of like you start seeing like the issues and the problems, but then like that defensiveness, comes up, and it's kind of like, okay, well, I knew as a hospital, when you come in, you're gonna be, questioned, and it's like, but then like that defensiveness still comes up, and I just kind of wonder why. I guess I just wonder why, like if you've been watching videos and kind of seeing like how we get down, like why is that still so prevalent,
Yeah, well, it kind of goes to the fear roots that I was speaking about earlier, like in terms of a person being negative. I'm afraid I'm going to be disrespected. I'm afraid I'm not going to be loved. I'm afraid that something bad is going to happen. But if you're walking through the world fearing that you're not going to be loved, because probably you're not a loving person, then of course you're going to be hyper defensive to any sort of criticism, because it means now I'm being rejected and you don't love me, and I knew you weren't going to love me. Like it's been fulfilled now based on this critique that you have. They don't interpret that as you took the time to look at me and learn me and study me enough to be able to see, hey, we all say we want to grow. Try this or try that. It's no different if you're playing a sport with somebody or you working out with somebody, and you got a workout buddy, and they say, hey, I notice you're kind of weak on your left side. Every time we go to do this, I notice you're struggling on your left. You could go crazy on them, like, why are you looking at me? Why are you watching me? So that's the problem, Or you could be like, well, thanks, because we're both trying to do the exact same thing. But that's the thing, like, some people are not trying to do the exact same thing. So when you start to bring up some of these issues, there's a lot of offense, because I've heard that so many times where people have said, I didn't come here for all that. I've heard that 100 times. You didn't come. All right, so what did you come here for? Yeah. So
Peace,
it's fair. Peace, Master McLeod.
Yeah. But since this is a snitchathon, I thought
it's dry snitching. It's dry snitching.
But yeah, it's interesting that those concerns do come up in the beginning. I know who Sister Sequoia is speaking about as well. And there were concerns like, well, I'm not going to make myself vulnerable if no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
That came up a lot.
Yeah.
But you can see the common theme of it's still about me. Like, I was by myself. I was out here by myself, feeling like I have to fend for myself, or feeling like anyone can hurt me at any time. And when I get into this group, it's still me against everybody else.
Right.
Maybe this person is nice to me today, but who knows what will happen tomorrow. So there's never any chance to shift the mindset from me to we. There's always just me. There's never the group.
Right.
Or there is a group. There's a group of outside of me, and they're planning to take me down at the first opportunity. So because there's no, you can't adhere. There's no love happening. Even though you could claim love all day, but you can't really connect with anyone who you perceive to be outside of yourself. And because of that, you either always got one foot out the door, or it's like it's almost like you're on a job. Like, you looking around, you putting together silent cases against people, like, oh, I'm gathering dirt on this one, I'm gathering dirt on that one. So if they do find out something about me, I can pull something. It's like, no, you had said it last night. Was it last night? No, it was the night before last. We were dealing with
movie night. Mm-hmm.
And you had said it's not us against each other, but it's you and me versus the problem.
Right.
And
right.
It's difficult for those types of people to take on the idea of we're all in this together, so it's us against the problems. And anything we perceive to be other than what our standards are is a problem that we should be able to attack wholeheartedly without, feeling personally attacked. But it's like the ego gets entangled with it, and you want to defend the problem because you feel more attached to the problem than you are to the group.
That's real, man. Like, more attached to the problem than you are to the people. So you see yourself as the product, as the problem. And if someone brings the solution itself is painful. So you see the person as a solution. So now the person becomes your pain. So you're here to attack me. That's why you've heard me say 100 million times, I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to that thing in you that I'm trying to get out. There's a reason I have to say that all the time, because of people's perception. They identify them, like you said, I'm closer to the problem than the people. So if you're attacking the problem, you're attacking me. Not that you're trying to purge something that's got its claws in me. You're trying to pull that tick or that parasite out of me. No, you're trying to destroy me.
That sounds like.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that sounds like the ego, or a very egotistical person. They don't want to be vulnerable and allow themselves to kind of, you know, be destroyed, with that ego to be destroyed.
Well, because the only thing they want is the ego. See, like Master Menelik said, it's all they never transition to the we philosophy, because we is love, I is hate. So my I always disconnects me from everything. Is me, is I, is me, is I. So that means I'm operating with a hate philosophy, which is the disconnected philosophy. But if I operate from a we philosophy, then I see myself connected to others. That's where the empathy is going to come in. Good manners are going to come in. You know, not being so judgmental is going to come in. You know, not wanting to use everyone for our own pleasure is going to come in, because now I'm operating out of love. But some folks ain't got a drop of love in them. They got none, zero. Like you said, like regardless of what they say, they'll sit there. I'm all about love. I'm a love person. I'm all about love. Nobody who's about love says that. I mean, wasn't it Diddy who was calling himself Brother Love?
Brother Love.
You know what I'm saying? Right. You know what I'm saying? So you tell it on yourself. You know, like love is an action. Where's the action? You know.
So, I guess this is I keep asking the same question. I know. Okay, so you can. And this is the hardest thing that I think that I see, especially you being in a position where do you start to make the decision or the hard call of saying, okay, I see this person and I also see this person needs help. Do I turn them away at the door because I know that this person is going to come in and cause chaos and confusion? Or do I still let this person in in hopes that this person can get it turned around? Because I've seen even many people where they'll complain about hospitals turning people away because they're like, we ain't got no beds. No, you can't turn people away. They need help. If I ain't got nowhere to put you, I ain't got nowhere to put you. Or if I think you can make it. Like, where do you start to make those decisions of, I'm gonna allow this person in the hospital, and then when I allow this person in, well, this person done tore the hospital up. Now I gotta kick you out. But then when you leave, then you go talk about the facility and how they ain't had this stuff for me, and they ain't had none of them things that I needed. So we should tear the hospital down.
You know, I tell you this, man, and that's a no, it's not tricky. The reality is that no one person should have to make that decision. You know, even if you want to detonate a nuclear bomb, you need multiple keys. You know, I saw Superman 3. You know, you got to have one key over there and another one with this one. You got to turn them at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. So, and I say why it's. Well, I was about to get ready to say it was tricky. I was really topping out. So everyone knows coming into Anu, I have the final say. But I'm the one who usually brings riffraff into Anu. I'm the one who's usually like, I'll give him a chance, right? So sometimes my final say can be problematic. This is where we get back into the we mentality, because I may say something's not problematic because I can endure a certain level of abuse. But one of you may not be able to endure that level of abuse. Am I considering you when I'm saying, okay, let's let this person in, the harm that they may cause you? You know, so that's why you have councils, you have groups, you have communities where oftentimes people will come before that community and the community will make a sound decision, because there might be different angles that may not be seen. A sister may say, I like this woman that y'all want to bring in, but hey, I'll give you one. There was a guy we had here at one point where another woman did not want her children around him. You know, she just felt like she would always say, he's just creepy, you know, and I wouldn't leave my children around him, right? He's no longer here, of course, but I may not, as a man, I may not see that. I might not be tuned into those sort of maternal sensibilities. You know, I might be like, he's cool, he's friendly, he helps out, he smiles, everything is cool, it's cool. But there might be something in that female intuition that's like, I don't know what it is, but it's something that just don't quite sit right with that one there. We need to do more investigation, you know? So this is why some of the decisions like that, honestly, need to be made and collectively, because just like that other person can get their heart broken, I can get my heart broken. You know, I might be like, hey, I want this person to come in and nah, chief, like you ain't seeing it. And I might be like, all right, well then we'll all vote. I might lose the vote. Well, I just got to get my heart broken. You know, it is what it is. You know, so I think that's part of the importance and the value of community where there's love and respect, because we have to respect each other's experience. And if Zach may say, well, hey, I got to coordinate over the men, and this is the person, I can't handle this person. You know, I see this guy, he's going to spin out of control one day, and I'm not really going to be able to handle that. You know, it's not fair for one of the sisters to be like, oh, brother, you be all right. You know, you know, Bob and we, you know. So it's like you have to consider those sort of things for each other, and that's why it's important that we go and we move as a group, as a unit, and we take on the same mind. We take on a unified mind, because with that unified mind, we start to sympathize with each other at a level that we never would have before. Because a lot of people, when they like exactly you said, when they give that speech, oh man, I'm gonna head out because I see this is calling me over here. Thank you for the time. Do they ever consider, maybe I'm kind of spitting in these people's face who spent all this time with me? I came in here real raggedy, suicidal for some people, repo man chasing them down the street for other people, you know, all kind of eviction letters for some people. Like I could run through all the things that people ran up on. Chief, I need your help. Chief, I need you, you know, came at me with. And you didn't sacrifice your time to say, I really don't have time for that right now, but I'll make time because you're in code red. And then when you get out of code red and you sitting comfortable, it's like, yeah, I think it's time for me to move on. And thank you for everything you've done. What? If I would have known, like, I invested in you. I wouldn't have invested in you if I would have known you were going to do this. So, like, nah, you know, that's not cool. But a person who lacks empathy is always gonna head out in that sort of way, you know. So, yeah, I think it's important. Even when you have the vanguard, y'all might be able to say, Chief, we don't have a problem with this person, but this person is gonna break your heart, and we need to protect you because I see how much work you're putting into that person, and I know that person is not going to respect the input. They're not going to respect how you're nurturing them. And though you never act like your heart is broken, maybe we have been around you so much and love you so much, we can tell when you're hurt, even when no one else can tell. We can tell when something really does bother you, even when you're like, oh, well, F them. Next. You know, it's a certain way you say F them. Mm-hmm. You know, we can tell. That's what crying F him. F him. He crying inside. You know. So that's fun. He gonna cry when he go back in the tent. So you know, that's knowing each other and loving each other. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let you go with Chati.
Yeah,
Let me not do that.
Yeah, because Chief Yaya was breaking that down. Go ahead, Achati. Yeah, I see Master Ming. Pulling
the banjo.
Exactly. Yeah. Master Ming. Yeah. I watch y'all all the time.
I've also heard people say that when you're healed, you attract a lot of broken people.
Yeah, you heard me say that, man. Come on, man. Give it up. Give it up, bro. Yo, put the 100s in the hearts in the chat.
But I've also heard people who weren't building anything say that as well, too, though. Like they
yeah.
that and be like, yeah, you know, I got to understand, and they'll chalk that up as like sometimes in their relationships that they have. They'll be like, oh, well, it's because I'm attracting these sort of people because I'm healed. So I'm getting these people. At what point, though, does one take a look, or do they need a community as well that will start to help them make better decisions? Or can one start to make those decisions and say, you know what, maybe this is a moment where I should be called to help this person to get on their feet? Or is this a moment where I'm like, nah, you know what, you'll get a lot more help if I just leave you where you're at than me helping you out in this moment?
You know, you got to be guided by spirit. You know, to ever imagine that there's a formula that you can apply every time is an impossibility. You know, you have to. So that's why I say these sort of decisions can't be made, you know, solo, in isolation. Whether it's you going before the creator and the universe and saying, send me a sign, what should I do? You know, are you looking for license, or the license plate says do it, something, you know, send me something. You know, but certain things shouldn't be made in isolation, because where does your protection come from? It comes from the Most High. You shouldn't have nothing you can't protect, right? So like you say, I'm healed, so I'm attracting people who are not healed. Did you think about how to protect your healing before you got healed? Because that comes along with it. We all want beautiful children, but we don't want some dirty scumbag touching on our beautiful children, but we want beautiful children. You know, and I'm not saying like, oh, I want molester ready children, you know, like you cute enough to touch, you know, not that type of, you know, stuff. But I'm saying like, we want beautiful children. So do we think ahead of time, like, well, let's say as men, we get with a sister, and the sister tells us, you know, I developed early. I developed when I was like in 6th grade. And then you have a daughter and you're like, well, that may happen with my daughter too. Am I preparing already how to psychologically, spiritually, and physically protect what I know is going to be this thing that's going to be attractive later? You know, remember the term lust means to shine. You know, so things that shine, you know, people lust over. So if I'm healed and I'm shining and my aura is clean and my spirit is right and I'm happy, I become someone who can invoke lust in another person. You know, they will lust after that shine. So did I think before I got healed, or while I was getting healed, now this is how I'm going to stay healed. This is how I'm going to put the perimeter around myself. This is how I'm going to protect myself. So even when you have something precious like Anu, are we thinking this is how we're going to protect this from all of the vampires who we know they're supposed to come? They're going to come. They're supposed to come. You know, so I would say that's an important part of it, man. Don't make these decisions in isolation, and be ready to protect anything that you cultivate that's valuable. You know, it's why our women don't walk around half naked. You know,
that's oppressive.
Right.
I'm gonna jump in. I hope I can be heard because the connection over here is really bad.
Yeah.
So everybody, robots.
Yeah, you got Bahamian Wi-Fi. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I came into Anu, but I didn't get the upgrade in the Wi-Fi area, so we working on that. But one of the things that I caught when you were speaking about people who are like negative people and they have these roots, I really thought about the scripture, trust in Yahuwah or Hashem with all thine heart and lean not on thine own understanding, but in all ways acknowledge him and he shall guide your path. And I thought about what would happen if a person who was truly vulnerable, you know, in a space like this where they was like, okay, I got some issues, but in that process of eradicating those issues, they put Yah first, and they were able to see the divinity not only in themselves but also in their sister and their brother. Then you know, I feel like that's what we're supposed to be doing. But I always wonder, like, okay, do people ever get to that point where they actually say, okay, I can't necessarily do the work by myself or alone, but I need the strength of the Most High in order to begin to, you know, work some of these root issues out. And I just always wondered that, like, is that something that people even take the time to recognize, like they actually need it? It's in the Anu way, but I just feel like it's something that is skipped over, you know?
Yeah, it's that first eye vision. I can't see who my sister or brother is without first eye vision. If my pineal organ is calcified and I'm trying to look at everything here, whoever I'm gonna denote as my brother or sister are gonna be people who I think look like me physically. I don't have the ability to tune into a vibration to see if I'm safe or not. You know, like animals do. Like they say, oh, an animal can sense when you're scared. You know, like I can't sense who wants to hurt me, who doesn't want to hurt me, if they look a certain way. Like if I came on here right now and I had on traditional Nigerian clothes, and I had on a beaded necklace, right? And I'm sitting to fly with, I'm talking, and as I'm talking, I'm just, you know, ain't no flies in here. But I'm sitting here like, yeah, you know, and doing this, you know, you would be like, oh, that's Baba right there. You would immediately call me Baba. You know, that's Baba. So you would give me that trust, and you would give me sort of, you would ascribe to me the sanctity of some sort of African elder or African sage because of what I'm wearing. Now let me spit out a couple of words in Europe. I got you. That's it. You know, because you didn't know how to tune in with this. You know, so I would just say, like, it's some people, when we say the Most High is that oh, I was very choppy for a moment. Okay, thank you. I guess I'm clear now, right? Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
so
choppy over here.
Well, you choppy over here. You stay choppy. We know how yours is, you know. You know, chop. But so the thing is, like, the Most High is okay. Like, there's a song I did. Was it Black Orpheus? No, it was You Imagine. Oh. You imagine love. You imagine light. Right. In that song, I'm singing about a journey from the solar chakra to the crown chakra. Right. So it's a worship song to the Most High. It don't sound like it. Then now that I told you, go back and listen, you'll hear it. But the first thing I say is, no one knows you like I do. You know, believe all the coverings that hide the truth. You know, then I say, no one sees you like I do. So the knowing is the personal seat of power in the solar chakra. This is where we come into our sense of identity. So when I say in the song, like, up, up, come to me and we'll be so free, I'm saying rise up from that sense of the solar, like it's me, I, my personal power, come up to here. So then that second verse, I say, no one sees you like I do, right? Because no one can see anything without this. No one can see anything real. So people will talk about the pineal. They'll put jewelry on here and all kind of stuff to make it seem like they're tuned in. But you know someone who's functioning from that perspective and using that sort of vision, because oftentimes there's a peace that's over them. They're not hostile. You know, they're not super defensive and things like that. You know, that's a part of it. And most people know they don't tap into that. No.
Interesting.
I'm sorry. I waited. I waited. Nobody said that.
The timing.
That makes me think of going from the root to the crown, of how now does one get there? And it's made me think of that, you know, my God, why has thou forsaken me? And it's like I can't come down there though and associate myself with some of the stuff that y'all got going on. So here's is it more so like the commandments that one would follow in order to start to work their way up, or does it go beyond just certain steps that one needs to start working their way up to the crown?
I'm kind of appalled that you would even ask this question. I'm appalled. I'm taken aback and appalled.
Let me reword it. No.
Y'all may get that brother some shea butter. His hands sound crazy. You was powerlifting. You had to talk on your hand. But you know, it's the Lion King. But you got to ask that. You know the answer already. The Lion King, right? Where did he end at the end? At the end of the movie, he ended on the throne, at the crown. He received his crown again. The Lion King was the story of going through the chakras. So how do we work our way through it? We got to go on a journey. And the journey does. I don't even have to explain that. Like, you are the Lion King expert. Like, that is your official title. So I don't even want to like usurp your position. You know what I'm saying? But like, what did Simba have to do? What was the challenges?
He went to a community that told him that he can do anything that he wanted to do, right?
So what chakra was that?
The root.
Sacral chakra. Pleasure.
Because he started off wanting to be king for his own ego. I can't wait to be king, but he's talking about what other people have to do for him, not what he would do for everybody else.
That was before he got to the group, though.
Yeah.
That was before that, yeah.
The root was what? Survival. After Scar chased him away, he had to survive.
Yeah.
Root chakra. Then when he gets past the point of survival, his homeboys is like, man, the Kuna, like, having fun. Life is just beautiful and pleasure. Sacral chakra.
Mm-hmm.
And Nyla comes around and is like, oh, you know who you are? Soul chakra.
Yeah.
You better get back to your personal identity. I ain't gonna say no more because like that ain't even my move. Like, come on, man. Like, I can't believe you even asked this question. Like, it's right in the line. You know this.
But, like, I'm just when you see people and you see them, okay, your journey has led you to a spot where somebody is holding up a mirror and showing you yourself. Right? And it's almost like Rafiki when he like look in the water and he's like, I don't see nothing. Nah, brother, look harder. Like you gonna see this, but then that can't possibly be me or anything I'm connected to. I still want to keep things as the way that I came in, as normal for me as possible. And I know you like, which started making me think maybe it's some are like they sociopaths to a degree, where like I'm just not having any kind of connection with other people because I just want it the way that I want it, and if it doesn't get the way that I want it, then I'm out of here. Like it's hard for me to see how that journey is progressing when you have the journey has led you to a spot that is telling you, no, I'm going to show you yourself. Like I know you've said this 1,000 times. Like this is a lot of y'all's last stop. Where else would you go at this point?
Where are you going?
That's where I think I get stuck. It's like, what would be the next stop in order for somebody to start to work their way up? Or are these just certain people that will remain in hell?
They fall back down. Like, that's for all of us. If we go on a hero's journey and we get to a certain point of the journey and we're like, it's too hard. Like, I had it easier in the last plateau I was at. I want to go back there. Okay. I fall back. This is too hard. So there's a difference between graduating out of our new. Like, I had somebody say that once. Like, he's like, well, you said people are not supposed to be here forever. Not everybody's going to be here forever. But I'm like, yeah, but you didn't graduate out. Or it's like when people say, well, yeah, I studied under Chief and now I'm doing, you didn't study under me. I promise you didn't study under me. Like, you know, there's people who are perfect attendance people. They show up all the time, but they don't study nothing. But they'll be able to leave and say, yeah, I was over there. No, you weren't. You were not. You just showed up. Or like people say that with the church. Yo, I went to church. I read the Bible. And I always ask questions like this. Did you drink while you were in church? Did you smoke while you was in church? Did you have premarital sex while you was in church? Yeah. Then you went in there. You just shut for the air conditioning. Like, you wasn't really actually in that, you know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. People will, at every stage we go to, we are confronted with a challenge, even our lowest vibrations, right? So even if you say, well, y'all just stuck in the root chakra, you don't think the root chakra has its challenges? You don't think survival has its challenges? Or if we say, hey, you're stuck in the sacral chakra. Ever had your heart broken? You know what I'm saying? Like, ever face the penalties of wanting too much pleasure and not being focused on what you're supposed to do? You know, got fired from a job because you was laid up with somebody because it was just we in love. You know what I mean? So every chakra, which is a plateau in our journey up the spine, every chakra has its own like boss at the end of that level. It's like a game. You know, no matter how low we think about, well, this is the easy chakra. There's no easy chakras because you're only as strong as the place that you're at. So you're not built for the heart chakra before you go through the solar chakra. You ain't built for it. Some people will skip because you wasn't strong. Like I said, people will come to Anu, not study, not do what they're supposed to do, then leave. So you wasn't even strong enough for this space. And then you say, well, now I'm over here. No, now you went from a real chakra experience to a daydream. Now you're dreaming your way through the chakras because you couldn't actually make it. You couldn't take it. You couldn't actually do it. So because I couldn't do it for real, let me do it for fake. But while you're doing it for fake, it's like the movie Avatar. You know you ain't really here on this planet. This ain't really you. Your body is still in the stasis chamber. You're asleep, running around here on the planet. This ain't even your body. So now you're daydreaming your way to success. But it's all illusionary because the truth is you failed at the level that you were supposed to be, and you're still at that level. You never bust out of that prison. Yeah.
I'll just say too, anyone who says they studied under Chief, like, how did you do it? Because I cannot see the end of it at the point where I'm at. I cannot see no end to all of the studying. You've always said, Chief, you're just a student who's further along in the path. So you be learning stuff every day. So that's more stuff for us to learn. How did you study your way out of the space?
Hey, see, some things other people have to say. I wouldn't want to say that because of how it sounds, but I know that. You know what I'm saying? But if I say it, it sounds arrogant. But I know. You know what I'm saying? Even when I ask people about certain books, yo, did you read this book? Yeah, I read that. You ain't vibrating like somebody who read it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know I don't see the glow I read it on you. But if I say that, you know, it's gonna be, well, how you gonna tell me? You're right, I can't tell you. You're right. Mm-hmm. You know, but it's just like when you have a glow, or when your dynamic and your molecular dynamic is changed because of the journey, you can't hide your dynamic. Mm-hmm. I wrote another song. They will know who you are. Cast your light from afar. Right? You can't hide who you are. You know, so you come into an environment, you trying to downplay it because you don't want the responsibility of who you are. So you try to pretend like, you know, you don't know anything. You sizing everybody up. Meanwhile, you over here glowing like Bruce Leroy. You know, like, you can't hide. if you have really gone through the hero's journey, yo, look at the movie Conan. That's another movie about the chakras. Because at the end of the movie, where was he at? He was on a throne with a crown. He was bored, but he was sitting on the throne at the end. After being a slave, his father's killed, all that. He's a slave, they enslave him, then he goes up. Freaking Star Wars is the fourth one. The Return of the Sith or whatever. Where he picks up Anakin. Anakin was a slave. They always slaves. You know, but again, Conan, he was a slave, right? He fights his way through, he's killing stuff, stabbing stuff. He's falling in love with the woman gets killed. So he's feeling heartbreak, all that through the movie. And at the end, he kills Thoughts of Doom, you know, but that might be the second one. Don't matter. They was all the same. And at the end, because they basically like the Chronicles of Riddick. It's all the same thing. The girl fall in love, the girl get killed. He at the end, he's on the throne. It's all the same story going up to the crown chakra, right? But at each level, you getting new muscles. So when Conan, if you look at the beginning of the movie where they took him into slavery, he's a little boy, and then they show him pushing that wheel. It was called the wheel of, like I read the book Conan, and it was called the wheel of torture. So that he's pushing that wheel around in a circle for years, for like his whole life. So then the movie, like, you know, you have the time lapse, and he's a little boy, then he's getting bigger, then he's big Arnold Schwarzenegger with the muscles and all that from pushing the wheel. Because that's what happens as you go through each stage in your chakra plateau, you get new muscles. So if you telling me you went through the journey and I'm looking at you like, you ain't got no muscles. You ain't got sacral chakra muscles,
right?
You know, you remember when we was kids and somebody told you they wasn't a virgin, and you like, you smell like a virgin. You could tell the difference. And I was a teacher. I worked in high schools. I knew which student. I'm telling you, I knew when they lost their virginity. I could tell. Because it'd be the boys who always disruptive, causing problems, and then they come in one day just cool. Hey, Mr. Hassan, what's up? Give me fist pumps. All right, good. I saw you driving home yesterday. Oh, you saw me? Yeah, I saw you driving. All right. They just, oh, you mellow now. I wonder what you been up to. You got a girlfriend? Yeah. She go to a different school. Yeah, okay. So, you know what I mean? You got those new muscles. You know, so that's the thing, man. People will fake the muscles. They'll fake them. Everything that happens in the spiritual is projected outwards to the physical. You always remember that. Any new technology, any social change, any cultural change. We live in a world now of Ozempic, of BBLs. You know what I mean? Like, dudes are getting in on it now. Dudes are getting cheek implants, chin implants. The dudes are on it now. Dudes are getting weed. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Getting the weed, getting their beard painted. You know what I mean? Because that's a reflection.
One time, a barber, he sprayed that garbage on my head. I didn't realize what you doing. They don't do that? No.
They're filling in.
Everybody get that. See, that's why I don't go to nobody. Can't wait for him to get back.
Right, but that's the thing. So, what is that doing? I'm not maturing. So, because I'm not maturing, and I don't have the muscles of a mature man or a mature woman, I got to keep looking like someone 10 to 20 years younger. Because I don't have much. So now it's freakish. I'm looking at you. You seem older, but you don't vibrate older. Oh, damn. Well, let me look younger then. I could be the king of the youngsters. You see.
Yeah, I've seen the fake it and the skipping through those chakras. Everybody wants to go to the throat chakra. Everybody wants to be the one who speaks the uncomfortable truth. Yet they haven't gone through the tempering of being able to speak the truth in a compassionate way. They always want to speak the truth that hurt people. You know, that's how you know I've grown. You know, because I've been hurt, and I realize sometimes you got to get hurt to grow. So I'm gonna hurt you. And it's like, come on, bro. You don't have to do all of that. But I want to skip through, or I'm self-actualized. So I know who I am. I have that solar plexus chakra, but really I'm scared. I'm in survival mode. I'm projecting someone who has it all together.
Stuck in a chakra. Right. You still in survival mode. You stuck at the root. You never made it out the root.
Yeah. So when you're talking about lust and luster, it's like I remember one time you said, I can't remember which segment, but you were saying that sometimes the vibration of a chicken is higher than yours, or the light that a chicken is giving off is higher than yours because it's obedient to its own nature. So even what you consider to be light is dangerous. And it made me think of like it's a feeding frenzy out here because everyone is looking for a light that's shining brighter than them to feast on, as opposed to give into, because there's no harmony. Like what you were saying in 14 Keys with Harmony, you're pulling, rather than giving, or rather than harmonizing or balancing out a space or building up a space. You have this internal deficit, so you're continuously pulling energy from the space. You're looking for something that's shining brighter than you are, so that you could attach yourself to it, and then just siphon energy off. You just, as soon as you get close to something that's bigger than you, it's just, all right, time to start growing, and it just start eating, until that thing disappears, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know what to do. Sometimes it's a job. I don't know what to do now. Sometimes it's a relationship. I don't know what to do, and I can't see beyond this big change, or the light that I've been feasting on dying out. And cities are doing it now. Like, remember how cities formed around like gold rushes? Like, we found gold mine. So like, well, all of the miners, they tired of driving in and out of town, so let's build an inn. Well, there's people robbing the people who are mining the gold, so let's build a sheriff's office. Well, the miners and the sheriff, they want their families closer, let's build a town. And over time, people forget, like, we built around this gold mine. When we have already mined out all the gold, like, how are we going to keep the city going? We got to find a new battery source. And oftentimes it becomes the people.
The truth is, it's like, why is the goal there? Right? So it's always been known that major cities, or we'll say more prosperous areas of cities, are usually built around areas that were areas of worship for natives. So the gold is coming from the earth, right? So just like we have special parts of us, the earth has melanin, it has gold, it's given forth these deposits of melanin. We call it oil or crude oil. It gives forth gems, rubies, diamonds, sapphires, emeralds. These are all the fruits of the earth. So where there's going to be a concentration of more fruit, most likely there's a concentration of higher spiritual activity. So there are people who know, well, this is where the natives would always congregate. This is where they built their temples. This is where all the spiritual activity is. This is where we'll put the capital for our state. You see, these places are picked for a reason. They're picked purposely. There's something about massacres that are related to that. That's all. I don't want to say too much, but yeah. So when you take these people's spiritual places over, you get rid of all of them and plant your flag there, because that's a lot of times in those areas is where the ley lines cross. So you got these water streams crossing each other. They got ley lines there, high mineral deposits. They know this is a spiritual area. So people will fight tooth and nail for you not to take their temple. But you got superior weaponry. You get rid of all of them. And then 400 years later, like, one of their spirits inhabit one of your children. And one of your children then go and air the place out. I'm just gonna say that. I don't want to.
Yeah. But they got some nice parks built on top of those grave sites, don't they? Don't they?
Right. Louisiana, New Orleans. New Orleans is a grave. It's a giant grave. Yeah. That's why it's so cool. That's why it's so funky. That so much music, all that. It's built on top of a giant cemetery, and they tell you, "Oh, well, you can't bury anyone underneath the ground in New Orleans. You got to all the the grave, they're above ground.
Soon.
They got more room.
They don't want you digging under there.
Occupado.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Insane.
Peace to everyone, by the way.
Peace.
Why you laugh, brother Zach?
Yeah, he's laughing. I'm like, what's going on here?
They got your last name, so what's going on?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play along. I'll play along. When people say walking in my shoes, and no, this is obviously some kind of family argument that done spilled over. When people say walking in my shoes and know where I am, where I come from, to know my past and my history, how can you know that if you never walked in my shoes? Yeah, I mean, sometimes, because the thing is, shoes are not that unique. Sometimes we don't realize how common our shoes are. They made more of them. So sometimes the experiences that we're having in life are pre-programmed experiences. So there's certain personalities of people on the planet, and that's not to disregard like our personal journey, but you could line up 20 we'll say African Americans from the South, and you line up 20 African Americans from the South over the age of 65 and see how common their story is going to be. Does it mean they had the same exact shoes? No, but they had the same manufacturer, meaning that the path that was put in front of them was predetermined and pre-designed by the powers that be at that time. So you'll hear a lot of stories about people who didn't finish school because they had to go work. A lot of stories about the names that they was called back then. A lot of stories about sharing the bed with 3 or 4 other siblings or more, things like that. Or having to go to school early so you could turn on the furnace or get firewood because the school was heated by firewood. You'll see these common sort of stories, and you'll start to realize, well, we can start to understand some things about each other and our history based on the collective psychological and cultural history that we all share. We all know if you eat too much collard greens, you're going to be on the toilet. Because I bet everyone here has eaten greens. Because we eat greens and rice and peas. We all ate that. We all had Kool-Aid, all of us. You know what I mean? So it's sort of the commonalities of experiences. It's like the smell of a hot comb. See? Right. There's men on this line who are like, yeah, I know the smell of a hot comb. You know what I'm saying? We know that smell. So those shoes, man, are the commonality of the patterns that many of us have walked in. We've walked that same trail and path, and we've made the grooves on it a little deeper. Because we're all walking with the same one. The problem is when we don't know. Sometimes, like when you're walking through snow or you walk in a path, it's easier to walk the path because the grooves have already been there, but you don't know who was the first one to lay that path. Maybe you're being corralled into some place or somewhere that you really shouldn't be. It's easy for me, it's easier for me where I grew up to buy a gun than it is to get a grant to clean up a park. If I say, hey, I want to go to the city and I want to apply for a grant, give me $500 to clean up a park. that would take longer than it would for me to take $700 and go buy myself a rifle. That's a path that has been put in front of me. You know.
Mm.
What do you say, Zach?
Hey, that was not an argument that nobody had, so I don't know. Hey.
Oh no.
But however, though, it does make me think though of I think especially in melanin dominant communities of people not saying anything or even asking something because they think that their story is unique. Or they think that, you know, they won't understand if I open up and tell you blah, 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 but not realizing these stories are not that uncommon. Like once you start, you know what? Then you can easily direct somebody to, oh yeah, you would be better suited on this path because so many other people have walked that same path. But it's not until somebody is open to that experience and vulnerable to say, you know what, this is what I'm dealing with. These are some of my challenges. Oh, okay. And then you start to see, well, those really, you know, people have been dealing with these challenges or some of these things that have been put in front of you to make you stumble, right?
Sure.
And let me show you now that you can see some of these things so you can make better decisions as you start to move forward so that therefore now, like you said, moving up those chakras. Now I got the blueprint to get out of the bottom, the root, right? So now let me use the blueprint to get out of the bottom. Let me start to work my way up as opposed to saying, you know what, now I'm just going to bottle this up and keep it to myself, which now has us, I would think, to fall back down though. I'm not going to start to open up. I'm not going to ask for help. I'm still thinking that, or I got to be the one to call these people out because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, even though I was on a track to start to work my way out, now it just comes back down. I'm tumbling back down, and now I'm gonna blame everybody around me. And again, though, it goes back to that first show that you did. But what have you built? You quick to try to tell all these things, but you ain't built nothing. So just get in line and just walk the path. Yeah.
It's difficult, man, because it requires vulnerability, and if you have that underlying negativity and fear, then it's very difficult to be vulnerable because you're like, man, I'm barely holding it together as it is. It's like you ever walk in the rain and you carrying something or you got a book bag on and you know it's getting soaked, but you're like barely keeping stuff off you. And you're like, man, I have to just fix this when I get in the house. Like whatever it is, just going, or you know, you walk and somebody, hey man, your fly's undone. Well, don't look. You know, like it's freezing out. It's brick outside, man. I'm too cold to even zip up my zipper. You know, because sometimes you feel like you're so under attack that you don't have that space to readjust. You don't have that space to equalize. Sometimes the best thing you could do. This is where we get the feel hollering tradition in our music. Sometimes the best thing you could do is just holler out what's going on with you while you're moving. You know, sometimes we're so afraid to tell our story. It's not always about asking for help, because sometimes people can't help you in the traditional way of I present a problem, you give me a solution. Sometimes the greatest thing you could do is just tell your story, and that's it. You know, leave it there. I had an elder used to talk to me all the time about stuff he went through when he was younger. And he would always say, man, I wish when I was young, I had you in my life back then. Now, this elder is like 50 years older than me, but he would always say, and I mean, no offense to anybody's listening, but he would, I'll use a different word. He would always say, you know how to talk to them white people. You know, he would always say, man, you know how to talk to white people. And because he had a business when he was younger, and he would, you know, you run into headaches and stuff in the business, and if you don't have the language or understand, you know, he was very adamant about, I'm not bowing down to anybody. You can kiss my ASS, all that, you know. So he would like, man, I look that white person in the eye and I tell him this, and you know, but he was like, man, the way you are, man, you scare him, but you know how to talk to him, you know. And he would always say, I wish I had that. So he wasn't really asking for help, but he was telling his story. And from him telling his story, it helped me to understand what was done for me, because that wasn't a problem that I had. So it was like, oh, wow. Like, so I'm seeing the transition of okay, well, this is where we are today. I know how to navigate different environments, but you at your time, you really only had access to like 1 or 2 environments. I have more access now. What can I do with this? And then it goes, for generation to generation. So some of the best things you could do, man, is just tell your story. Instead of just looking for the help, consider what your testimony and your documentary of your life can do for others around you. Sometimes your help will come that way, just in saying it,
Sometimes you help yourself by saying it out loud too. I'm sorry, I was just thinking about certain times where, like, you might be telling your story or your problem to someone, and in the middle of you telling the story, you have to like pause, like, wow, I had the answer the whole time. You might not even finish the story. You might go run to apply the solution. I was just thinking about that when you brought that up too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that.
Oh, no worries. Is some of the downfall, and I'm going to speak specifically with men, is the stoicism of getting to a certain space in their life, and that same stoicism now may not be able to sustain you moving forward as being able to open up, because now, like you said, I have walked in the rain and I've just put my head down and I get it done. And I'm going to keep getting it done regardless if somebody is there where I can now have a conversation with, like you just said, and, just tell about this experience. But my experience since I've been young, though, is just work and get it done. Is that not start to become problematic, or is that an asset that can almost looking at it like a liability in a sense? Like it's almost like a fine line.
Nah, it's the journey. It's the journey. It's not. It's a natural inevitability of growing older. Like we go through the chakra journey don't end.
Uh-huh.
So as we get beyond the lower chakras, we get past the heart chakra, things become more spiritual and mental. So there's elders that I have in my family that I'm still afraid of, but I could pick them up and throw them through a window if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. But I still would be scared. Like somehow you're going to fly back through, because it's just the power that they have. It's like they got a different kind of power. And if I did that, I'd have a lot of people, I'd have a hit put out on me because they are elders who have power now. So they don't have to exert themselves in the same way they did when they were younger, right? So that's just an inevitable part of the journey when you learn how to switch up your warrior stance. You see, I still wrestle my sons every time I see them. We still fight like I'm fighting like this. My life depend on it because I'm to my dying breath. Because I've been doing that since we were like they were young, and it was always like one day, Baba, one day, never, ever. You know what I'm saying? You will never beat me. You know what I'm saying? Now I remember the age, like it's probably around high school, because they do this thing like they jump me whenever I walk in the house. Like it's always all you hear is like get his legs, like every time I walk in the house. You know what I'm saying? But I remember one time like kind of running out of breath. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this might be the night. Like this, you know what I'm saying? And I can't let, like I wasn't ready for it. I'm like, no, not tonight. No, Lord, not like this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that warrior stance got to change eventually it's got to be like, all right, you got that. Like, you got that. I'm not ready for it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there's times I've been in the gym just because of that. Like, I ain't gonna beat me. I tell you what, you ain't gonna beat me.
Like, yo, for Friday. Like, damn, he's scared. I have my own.
Right. I mean, I'll be sending pictures. Like, see how much I got on the mat? You can't lift that. You'll never be able to lift that. See that right there? You know what I'm saying? But your warrior stance eventually has to change. Eventually, Baba's gonna need help getting out of his chair. Eventually, you know what I'm saying? Eventually, you might have to carry Baba. Well, hopefully, I mean, I remember having to carry my elder once into a hospital, you know, and what was so insane is that one of my youth was with me, you know, and I picked him up in my arms because he couldn't. He's like, man, get off me, get off me. You know, he was calling me a gorilla. He's like, get off me, big ass gorilla. But I had to pick him up. I'm like, yo, you short of breath? Like, come on, man. Like, I got to do this. You know what I'm saying? He cursing me out. My youth is seeing it. You know what I'm saying? But that's the changing of the warrior stance, where it's like we recognize that we have different kind of powers that activate. And if you're exploring those things and not living in the past, then you start to capitalize on the new strength and the new powers and the new wisdom that comes as we go through the journey. If you haven't done that, then you will be stuck on what it was. Guys around my age, I think I'm at the age of a lot of stuck, right? Where I'm not old yet, but I'm an old head, but I'm not really old. So there's that thing in us that's still like, you looking at our skin like, wait, I still got hands, still look young, still okay, ain't got no wrinkles yet, you know, so you still kind of feeling like, I wish one of these young boys would, you know, you still like one last fight. I just need one last fight to go out on top, you know. So you kind of at that age, you know, where you can still listen to a little young music, but you kind of really don't really identify with all of it. But some of you be like, well, I like that one right there. You know, that one right there, that's catchy. You know, but you really want to go listen to, like, you know, some old whatever, you know what I'm saying? So that this is around the time when the warrior stance, where you have to make certain decisions. What is my value in this season? And stoicism is valuable when you're building. But then when you start to branch out your family and you have children and you have grandchildren and so forth and so on, stoicism can hurt the family. You got to be that grandpa that's like, yo, let me tell you something. Like, let me tell you a story. You know, let me tell you about when I did this, or let me show you how to do this, or let me show you these pictures. Yeah, this is when I was doing that. You know, now it's time to tell your story. And you're going to tell different stories to different folk. You know, my sons, I would, from young, told them about women a lot. You got to be careful with this situation. And I would tell them things, but let me tell you what happened to me, son. Like, let me tell you what I went through when this happened, and y'all didn't know about it. Y'all didn't see it. Everything still looked cool, but this is what I was actually going through. But I may not tell my daughters that. You know, it's a different sort of conversation, but I'm telling the story. You know, so that's a warrior activity, because I don't want to tell the story. You know, I don't want to tell the story. I don't want to talk about failures. I don't want to tell my youth, you know, let me tell you the vision I really had and where I fell short. Let me tell you what I didn't give you that I wanted to give you. You know, don't try not to make this mistake. Like I always tell my youth, and y'all have heard me say, because I say it to y'all, go make new mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. That's life. But don't make my mistake. There's no reason to make my mistake. There's no reason. Because I'm gonna be open and honest and tell you, I'm gonna just tell you what my mistakes were that I'm aware of. Go make your own. Because even in you making your own mistakes, I'm gonna learn something too. Like, oh, I didn't even know you could do anything like that. I didn't know you could do something that stupid. You know what I mean? Okay, that's new levels of stupidity that have been introduced onto the planet. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the changing of the warrior stance, man. And so many people in this society today have a problem with it because we don't value the journey. And when I say we, I'm saying as a society. You know what I'm saying? Method Man and Redman just did Summer Jam, and they said they will never do it ever again because the crowd wasn't really rocking with them. But I'm like, you forgetting how old you are. You know what I'm saying? Like some of these youth weren't even born when you were at your pinnacle, you know? So like there was a lot of people like older heads, like, yeah, they don't appreciate good music. They appreciate good music, but we didn't really instill the value for legacy. You know what I'm saying? Now, if some old rocker came and they wheeled the Rolling Stones out on stage, everybody goes crazy because their parents taught them the value of legacy. You know, you get that in martial arts films. It'd be the old white-haired master. Nobody can beat him. He's always, you know, he's got that long white beard and the thick white eyebrows, you know, and he's fighting and it's like, yo, he's old, but he's still tearing people up. Because they recognize in that culture, the older you get, the stronger you get. It's like vampires. Mm-hmm. For us, after 35, you washed. You washed. You know, so that's part of it, man. We don't know how to switch up the warrior stance, and we don't value the journey as much as we should. You know.
Yeah, you're speaking about like.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
All right, appreciate it. When you're talking about like sharing your story, it reminded me of what it talks about in the 14 Keys about like reciprocity and how, you know, when you have a community, it's great when the community shares their highest ideas and also their lowest ideas, because now it gives everyone a chance to see, okay, what are we bringing in? What are we taking in? What are we doing that's working for the, you know, the benefit of our mission? And what are we doing that's not? And you can't really do that if you don't share it. If you don't let people know, like, what's going on with you, what have you been doing, what's been working for you, like, because if something's been working for you, it might work for me, you know, right? With the same exact thing, and now we can all move on that same, you know, mission together, you know, because we just decided to, you know, be vulnerable, like you said, and share, you know, what you were going through and what you were, you know, what your journey looks like.
Absolutely, and sometimes it's the vulnerability that endears a person to your story. Like you brought up the 14 Keys, great example, because the 14 Keys is your grandfather's idea. I wrote it in the beginning of the book. Like, you know, like I was in the car with your grandfather, giving him a lift, and he was like, you know, he didn't say 14 keys though, but I like the ring of keys, you know, but he was like, yeah, man, our people somebody needs to, like, we need to have a system. So we need to, I remember that conversation like it was yesterday. We need to have a system where, like, you know, something's going on, we can reference this system. You know, he said the 14 African principles. And I was like, yeah, Baba, that's tight. That's tight. You know, now he's not telling me I'm working on this. He's not even saying I tried and failed. He's telling me his story. Like, this is what's in my brain at this age and at this point in my life, and with my journey and being in culture for this amount of time, I'm seeing this is what's needed. But maybe I ain't about to write no book. I ain't about to do none of that, man. I'm, you know what I'm saying? I'm Baba. I'm chilling. You know what I'm saying? So it's when you tell that story, you never know, because of my love and respect for him, I'm like, well, I'm gonna do it. I'll do it.